should be streaming. Getting everything up and rolling. This chair in here. Everything should sound good, look good. 4 o'clock on the 24th. Here we are. One more time. See if anybody joins us, even though I was a little bit early. Just a hair early. And then there's the first one. Glenn's like in there. Glenn's like clockwork. So's Robert. There we go. Here we are. Friday the 24th. Memorial Day weekend. Getting ready into it. An Attaway girl is in with us. Man, right from the start. Bang, bang, bang. 95 degrees. 12% humidity. Partly cloudy. Howdy. And yes, it's a 3-day weekend, so something kind of nice. So, but it's the end of the mildness in Arizona, because I think Monday's 101, and then it's up from there. So, hello, Jill. And so we're rolling into the heat. So, springtime's pretty much over, summertime's here. And then we have Dale from Prescott, and Ed is back in. So, and Prescott's much cooler, much nicer. Hello, Hazy Gold Hunter. It's the crappy season. I don't mind the heat. It's just it takes a while to get used to it. So, 117 in South Texas. With a heat index. Well, we're not going heat index. There's Bobby. Anything interesting this week? No. No, I didn't find anything interesting this week. No, it was just a week. It felt like a long week, but I think it went by pretty quick, if that makes any sense. Monsoon season, well, that's a couple months away. So right now it'll just be dry and hot. Probably not see any rain, probably for a couple months at least, or 3 months. Monsoon comes later and later every year. So now our monsoons are coming in September. We'll almost work it into October. So used to be they came in early July, into June and July. What are your thoughts on the Aztecs left stuff in the superstitions? I've never found anything conclusive that the Aztecs left anything there. I do know there was trade routes, and the Hohokam and the Salado could have traded with them. So I think there's been things found in the Sonoran sites that point to trade, like macaw feathers, things like that. So there was trade. Whether the Aztecs had any imprint or real footprint here other than trade, I don't know. So I really looked into that hard because of the spiral staircase and a couple things, but I could never find anything that said anything definitive. So other than the possibility of trade, and that's kind of a prehistory in Arizona that nobody's too clear on. I mean, the Hohokam are just like the people. They don't even know what they were called. And the Salado is very similar to a lot of, the Anasazi. They know so little, as much as they think they know about them, because it was kind of an earlier history, because all those groups disappear, much like, the Aztecs moving north. So nobody knows quite what happened in that period. And then we have more of the modern indigenous peoples. So they came from the north. Though the Hopis are probably more related to those southern groups, but yeah, it's an interesting period in history because you don't know exactly what went on, and there was trade. Early in some of these groups' time periods, it would have been much more lush. In very, very ancient times, this was swampland, so everything changed so much. But the superstitions, Aztecs, you're kind of in a spot where what very, very bits and pieces of evidence. Now, did they somehow incorporate with a number of different groups or influence groups through trade or, migration somehow? Again, it's hard to tell because the Aztecs seemed, even the Hohokam and the Salado, there were certain advances in things. They were very different, far more modernized than the later contemporary indigenous people that seemed to kind of take a step back and kind of started over. So it is an interesting time period, but unfortunately they didn't keep written records. They didn't do stuff like that. I watched the episode where you name the 3 tribes. That was awesome. What was the 3 tribes? The 3 tribes. The Tempe Town Lake, there was over 150,000. Well, where Tempe Town Lake, it was over 150,000. Well, all over through the Arizona and down. Snaketown was huge. Snaketown was one of the largest communities, which is between Casa Grande and Phoenix. And the canal systems. This was probably a lot of agriculture. Coolidge, Casa Grande, that was a big community there. But Snaketown, they did uncover it. You can find information on it. But they covered it back over. They didn't want to leave it exposed because it's mud adobe and it would disappear. It's very interesting how large of a community that was as well. Spanish never made it to Virginia. Okay. 31. Oh, the 31 tribes when we did that thing that one day. All right. What's your opinion about other being more lost to hidden treasures similar to the Victoria Peak? About other being, I didn't understand that. I don't know. I got into Victoria Peak because I found it interesting. There was a number of people that talked to a lot of people involved in that, and they all consider themselves experts. I acquired a lot of material that was directly tied to or from the Noss family, so it kind of piqued my interest. I had an interest, and then I started reading up and kind of learning a bit more about it and listening to people, and then Terry Carter put a bunch of stuff up on it, which was really cool. But then I acquired all this material, and it's an interesting take, because you have a Crazy Jake, Chuck Crawford type con man somehow in there, but there seems to be something very real there, so it's almost like shadows and mirrors. You're trying to figure out what's real and what isn't, because there's a lot of shady stuff going on through all of it. I find it very, very interesting. And like I said, I ended up with a lot of material from that time period, and I was very surprising to me. I've not been through all of it. I've kind of just realized what I had, and that was kind of where I kind of stopped with it, because I wanted to kind of take more time, and plus I was kind of trying to the authenticity of some of that material. If Jacob Walt said there was enough gold to make million, but okay, how long did he work his mine? Well, I'm sure he didn't work it that long, according to the story. He might have just felt that the vein, and most of the time, you see a vein, you think, oh, it's going to continue and continue. So he probably saw what they had started and where he was working, and felt that it could continue on and on. Like anything, it could have ended 3 feet from where he was, and that does happen. So he was probably guesstimating from where he what he thought was continuing, and then telling Julia and them, and probably that was to get them. But remember, again, it was never about them mining it. It was about them retrieving the caches by his camp. Let's see here. I have a blurry eye problem today. I don't know if it's allergies or the breeze, because everything seemed hazy today. And I don't think it was that hazy out. And I thought everything was better, but I'm getting that eye watering thing. So forgive me for taking a moment, because everything just goes in and out of focus at times with this. Anyone see the weird light above the mountains last few nights? No. I was reading 50 plus people. People always think they see weird lights. I don't know. Does anybody have any good film footage or photographs of it? you can film and do stuff. There's oh, and I will get in a little further on that in a second when I catch up. But it's the art of photography in just a smartphone. I mean, my phone's right here. This is my phone. Okay, this is films and records in 4K. The pictures and stuff is absolutely awesome. It's generations behind what our parents had, what professional photographers had 30, 40 years ago. It's just amazing, and the edit possibilities and so forth. Just what you can do with that, and it does record, obviously, good audio as well. But when someone has bad video or pictures, I'm just like, how is that even possible? And then when people are doing stuff that are looking for things, and I mean, okay, come on. Everything, there should be a lot of clarity, should be easily able to define something and understand what we're looking at. Hold on, I'm trying to catch up, man. You guys are just jumping all over the place. What's your opinion about there being treasures similar in general? I don't know. I think 90% of all treasure stories are just that, treasure stories. I think there's a good 5-10% that could be real. Because, it was like Trevor said. He went to Spain. He went through Spain's treasury. And he said, yeah, I know where all the gold that the Spanish conquistadors took out of them, Arizona, New Mexico, and Mexico is. It's in Spain. It was overwhelming the amount of stuff they had. They wouldn't let them photograph or film or do anything. They watched them, kept them moving. He said it was almost impossible to try to take any kind of inventory on it. But he said it was an overwhelming. And then you have to understand that all the cathedrals, everything out there is gilded in gold, gold leaf. There's just so much gold outside of the treasury. So he pointed out, he said, yeah, it's a phenomenal, overwhelming amount of gold they got sitting there. And I'm sure their inventory lists are not accurate to what they have there. Anyway, okay, we got the weird lights, we got that. Some stories about Doc being a storyteller. Okay, Hello, Wayne and all. Hello, hey, Dallas. How's it going? Haven't seen you around for a while. Happy Memorial Weekend, everyone. Us. The baton passed on kind of stops at Clay. No, I don't think so. Clay's kind of a separate issue. Clay's a separate Dutch hunter than Ron Feldman and Shoes. Clay's one of the oldest. I mean, he's up there. I'm trying to think of who else. There's a few guys that are pretty old. A lot of them just aren't well known. They didn't want to go out there and do lectures and didn't get involved in a lot of stuff. So I'm not going to throw their names around because people then kind of start looking at their names and bug them and stuff. But there's some older guys. We just had Tom Van, and Tom Van's up there, quite old. There's a lot of guys that have been involved. Clay just happened to be out there with his father. Tom Collenborn was out there with his father. So it's just they put a lot of time in. And that's always the kind of the thing is sometimes we look at Clay and it's just because when he was a young boy, 5, 6, 7 years old, he came out with his dad. And then he came back and spent a significant amount of the mountains. And then he's like 93, 94 years old. And you're like, oh, now you're looking at big amount of time. But just look at Shoes and Feldman. They've spent, 50, almost 60 years in the mountains now. So their time, it's quite a significant amount of time. And I'm not that far behind them because I started, they were, out of high school, they were older. I was just a kid. Look at Jesse, who's a bit behind me in age, but those years and numbers add up. So it's just there's a certain point where you're going to people are going to pass on and so forth. But there are a number, I can think 4 or 5 offhand that have been around a very, very long time. And they're still around. And we try to kind of connect with some of them, but it's just tough because they don't really want the attention. A lot of those guys never wanted much attention at all. They don't want anybody to know who they are. Do you think there is something strange going on Skinwalker Ranch, or is it BS? I think it's 50-50. I think there's something very odd there. I have some kind of thoughts and things concerning it. But I think there's something odd, but I think they play it up. And that's what I was going to discuss right here in a second. We'll get right back to that because that was what I was going to bring up about photography. Greetings from North Carolina. First, I am not Wayne Tuttle. Okay, well, that's good because your name's Joel. We can figure that one. Has anyone ever something like what infrared camera? Yeah, we do that too. We use that. I use filters and a lot of different stuff because what happens is I'll take photographs and then I'll use filters and stuff and then I look at it because sometimes it'll bring out certain elements or mineral deposits or something that's more highly mineralized that you don't see with the naked eye, especially when you're down in there with a flashlight and stuff. Sometimes you pick up stuff and see it. It's far more interest, especially if you're in a mine that has a little bit of silver. You may not see any gold, but you know there's copper and silver there, and you kind of physically know it's there. You've seen some of it. Then you filter it, and that kind of comes out more relieved. And then when you go to other mines, you use the same kind of filter, and then it brings out some of that same stuff. So yes, people do use that and all. That was something I used a lot. I got some photographs somewhere of that, where it's really bright colors, but it's not the natural colors, but it was to bring out the mineral composite of the rock. Don't forget to remind everybody when the rendezvous is, which is in October. Yes. You tell everybody, Bobby. You say we're old, Bobby. And well, we all are. Good Walt's gold under the bed have been found after he died. They're looking for a stat. How did it unfold? Well, one, Reinhardt put it there. So, the gold that was under his bed, or they had, that was in with him, was from his place. And there's several different stories. Someone kind of muddied that water a bit years ago, but basically he asked Reinhardt to retrieve what he had at his place that he still had. And then he felt like they needed more than that. He wanted to get that last cash because he'd been using it up, and he'd helped Julia. So could Walt's gold under the bed have been found after he died? Now they were aware of it beforehand, so they were aware of it because he sent Reinhardt to go get it. Now talking of the photography, I watched Skinwalker Ranch. I really like the show. I have connections, and I really enjoy it. I think it's a fun show to watch. I like the scientific, because there's sometimes I will say, why don't they try something like this, and they'll do something similar, and I'm like, cool. I think they're trying to present a television show. I think they're trying to entertain you, and I think they're doing a really good job. Now, my problem is when they show their, what do they call it? They call them UFOs, but whatever they refer to them as, aerial phenomena and stuff. Whenever they do that, they use that filter that shows them like bugs and stuff. And they do that, and I always feel like they do that, and sometimes I watch that stuff when there's multiple little dots moving around. And I go, I wonder what filter that is and what they're using, because the first thing it reminds me of is sometimes when you have a bunch of birds flying through the area, and one's going slower, one's going faster, and they make these beelines and this stuff. And then they try to BS it, but they never show you the actual footage. Because I'm like, okay, we didn't get to really see anything, but now they just show you the filter. And there was one they did recently, and I was like, I really feel like everything I just saw was birds. And that happens a lot. I think it happens a lot more with these guys than they like to think. Hey, you know what we can all do? Let's go get a bunch of these metallic helium balloons and stuff and have some fun and maybe get ourselves a couple strobes. And let's just set off just let a bunch of those go at the base of the Superstitions one afternoon, and then see what kind of hijinks and great phenomena that builds up. No, don't go do it, because then next thing everybody be looking at me like I'm an asshole. Alright, so everybody was old, just a funny. October 25th, 26th, and 27th. Yep, that's it. Just before Halloween. Alright, okay. The anomalies. No, what do they call those? Not EPA's Environmental Protection Acts. They call them EPF, something weird. They say something weird because they'll you can tell they want to call it one phenomena or another. It's just like, call it whatever you want to call it. Just say it's unknown, And it's funny because everybody relates UFO to flying saucer. UFO could be anything. It just means you can't identify it immediately. Oh, David Villa decided to retract his message. It could have been the message of the night. Could have been a prize for that. Okay, I don't know where I heard it from, but if you heard anything about taking Polaroids of the landscape and there will be halos, well, it's because it's crap film. You can go into mine tunnels. I have a bunch of stuff like that. As my camera, and not my photography, but as my cameras got better, I realized I was getting less dust motes and stuff. So I can go into places now and take a lot of pictures, and I don't have these little dust motes and stuff and all this crap that people say are ghostly things. UAFs, UPFs, yeah, something like that, they say. So I noticed as the cameras and our cell phone cameras, now I'm going in places and I have really good clean photos, and I don't have this light reflective stuff. I can adjust the camera doesn't need to use the flash to get a good low lighting picture, so it changes all of that, everything going on with the photo. So I get very, very clean photos. Now I can show you stuff from the 90s and early 2000s where it looks like, ghost guys would say, oh, look, there's 500 ghosts flying around here. So that changed everything. So using a Polaroid or something would do that, because you're going to pick up that stuff, which is one of those ghost hunter things, funny things. They say, yeah, well, let's use Polaroids. Let's do this. Let's do that. And it's like, yeah, let's use the older style film that shows crap instead of the clean, much better stuff. I have a lot of problems with a lot of stuff they use. And I don't want this to turn into the bash the guys that go, but it's you catch things, and I always listen to what they're saying. And there's an online content from one group, and they were talking, and they were joking around and said, when they were using a spirit box and a bunch of stuff, they said, what if we went in and we could put this into it and stuff. And they said, we can add to the vocabulary, because it only gives you the vocabulary it has, supposedly. And I was like, hold it a second. That means it's only picking the words that you put into it. And I thought, that's funny. And then, of course, there's also the problem with picking up anything bandwidth, is you could just have someone with a CB in a truck around the corner or something, or talking into a cell phone, and it could pick up something possibly. So they don't like to touch upon that, because when you try to bring that up, is like, is there a cleaner, better way to do those things? But they always come up with a gimmick thing, and that's magic. When you're talking David Copperfield, Penn and Teller and stuff, it's about gimmicks, okay? And the paranormal groups use gimmick stuff, and I'm sorry. And that was the problem I had with them, as I said, hey, we know this stuff, let's look at the results and kind of discuss what results are really from certain things. And they don't like to do that. They don't want to mess with that kind of stuff, because that makes, they don't want, they sell that stuff. I mean, you can buy an EMF, you can buy an EMF meter. It doesn't have to have a picture of a ghost on it. It might be cheaper, but they've gotten cheaper. Now, I will say that because of the paranormal thing, more people make them, and they've gotten cheaper. So you can buy a decent EMF meter now, a lot cheaper. It used to be a lot of money, but because they've been popularized by that, you can get them. Now, do people know what they really do and understand what's going on with that? I don't know. I ain't afraid of no ghosts. Hey Wayne, hey Gerard. Did Tex Barkley hunt for the Dutchman's mine with Jim Bark and Sim Zeeley? Okay. And then the little three ghosts. See, because we're spooky. Those are actual real ghosts. See, they're there. It's spooky, spooky, spooky. Barkley, I don't think hunted with them. He bought the ranch from Bark and Bark's partner once Bark was getting out of there. And then Barkley ended up, he hosted them. Everybody knew him. He was on good relations with Bark. I don't know his relationship with Ely. Jim Bark was much obviously closer to him. He bought the ranch. I don't know if they ever really searched. I'm sure he packed them in and took care of things. I know there's the story of, I'm having my moment. Getting old. Um, that awkward silence as Wayne tries to remember. Um, John Spangler came out with Jim Bark, and they visited the ranch. And he thought they would be going in the mountains, but Jim Bark just came actually to spend a few days just hanging out and sitting around with Barkley and talking. They both got older, and Barkley had to explain to him, I think your Uncle Jim just wants to come back and reminisce. You know, he doesn't want to be searching for the mine anymore. Which there is a certain point you physically, it's better to dream about it than go out there, the reality. I mean, that was something I discussed with someone the other day. The fact that Greg Davis, at his age, still goes and comes out and camps with us and sleeps in the back of a truck, and he's not bringing anything fancy or changing any way what he's done. It is pretty impressive that Greg still gets up every morning and he still goes and does. He must sleep on a piece of wood at home. But no, he still does pretty good, because that's a lot of work. Just camping in your 70s and 80s, that's a lot of work, and it's hard on a body as you get older. So the fact that Greg does that, I remember we were having a discussion saying, you know what, give him credit. He still goes out. He may not carry as heavy a pack, he may not move as fast, but he goes out and he does his thing. So there you go. And I've seen him when we've been on long trips where he just decides to take a nap, leans up against a boulder and takes a nap and sleeps, and then he gets up and he's good to go again. I was going accordingly to your shirt, so I had the wrong date. To your shirt. What? To your shirt. Damn, I was going accordingly to your shirt, so I had the wrong date, but finally found it. So here I'm direct from Long Island, New York. Long Island, New York. Those are some drinks that can mess you up. I spent the night in my late godfather's bed. He pulls the blankets off the bed. Neat fun. I don't know. How do you know it was him? Maybe it was somebody else. Maybe it's someone from another dimension. Maybe it's somebody really famous. Oh, there's the Bowman. He's back. Breathing and upright, I hope. At least he's upright enough to type and be here. Skycloud, greetings, Wayne. Gilgold, prospecting San Antonio, Texas, where every day is a golden day. Why aren't more Spaniard relics? That is an interesting thing. Why aren't more stuff found? I know of several sites I've been very interested in. I don't talk about it because I'm still looking into it, where supposedly some things were found, some things were left, and we are going to make some trips to look at these areas because there's supposedly something there. And with today and the technology and testing capabilities, I want to see. I usually get, when I ask about something and get told that something dates back to the Spanish era, then I get told a different thing after what kind of goes public. And I'm interested in several of these stories that involve with some Spanish artifacts. And we will be, I'm hoping, in the next 6 months to a year, we will be looking at a site that will be definitely dropped in. Yes, Skycloud. Yeah, I didn't get to do my Gilgold prospecting bit last week. So we all realize that. Do you know what Steinberg says, Wayne? No. Hello, Sky, we missed you. Okay, I caught that up. So, hey, I'm caught up for a brief second so I can take a drink of Dr. Pepper. This is just Dr. Pepper. I didn't understand the shirt statement. Anyways, but this is my new shirt. So, Chicago born, Chicago made. Second city saint. You can say all those things about me as well. So, there you go. Anyways, so I know we're going through, but yeah, I have a problem with the way people will present evidence, and I like to see both sides. If you're going to run some film of something, say our cameras caught this, run the normal, and then run the augmented and whatever, and the filtered, and give me something comparative, and go back to it. And they don't generally do that. They've gotten to accustomed that when it's really, really good, they just show you the one thing. And I've caught a few of those. Now, there's stuff that is really odd at Skinwalker Ranch. Let's admit that. There's some odd stuff. It doesn't make sense and stuff, but I don't know if it's UFOs or something like that. I've really started to wonder if Oak Island, because gold, certain precious metals can be found anywhere, if that was kind of a lot of what happened. And then you had another 200 people digging holes everywhere because of it. I don't remember, at one point, people would dig for just about anything. They would dig and, sell lead. And so you almost wonder if the mythology of Oak Island was built off of something that's pretty mundane. And, because that's why they would test. They can test, they test the water. I wonder what happens if we test the water in Canyon Lake. It would show gold content because there's gold. So that's kind of odd that they sometimes tout certain things. Anyways, and just before I get back into this, History's Greatest Mysteries coming back in June. So that episode with me, and I don't know who else because they didn't really give me much, but the one I consulted on and actually do an appearance of will be this June on History Channel. And I will make sure everybody's aware of it when it's coming out. And hopefully it turns out as well as I'm hoping it did. I believe Frank Fish found... Yeah, he did find relics, but not in the Superstition. Yeah, and there's a kind of an accounting of it. I don't know if anybody kept... I'm pretty sure Erie Schaefer and a number of people that I read said a lot of his files, a lot of his stuff disappeared. I think he had a son. His son came and got a lot of stuff. So I don't know what happened to a lot of his specific stuff. And that would be the stuff that's interesting because he did keep a very good accounting for his museum and his stuff. If you can get his books, there's, I think he did a couple books, and then there's Who Murdered Frank Fish and the other books about him specific. But if you can get his treasure hunt book and stuff, some of that does it. He did a lot of magazine articles. And when he did a magazine article, he had everything on the site laid out and photographed that he found physically in the site. So he there's a lot. You can hold him accountable for stuff because you can see, wow, okay, they're right there digging in the hole, and he has the stuff that he's finding laid out. Much better than a lot of people. Hate to say this, but talk later. Okay. I guess it's 13 feet down in the dirt canals. I grew up there about 13, 20 feet down. Any truth about two guys named William Buster hauling 100 truckloads of gold out of the Kabbalah Mountains back in the 1980s, 60s? I don't know. They might have 100 truck. That's one of the things that always gets me. If you found 40 gold bars, you'd be pretty set. And then you got people that they found 100 tons of this, and then they start putting up numbers that, well, people would just you wouldn't even know, if I found, I don't know what's going on here. Someone's decided to text me. So people are just being nutty. Okay, I have to do a thank you. Sometimes work pops in to the live, but never space work. Always keep working. William Buster, wasn't that the guys with the Victorio Speak out there and all that crap and 30s through 60s and the whole railroad thing and that thing? I always think there's an exaggeration on everything. I mean, let's face it, and there's a few people that have publicly said one thing and then privately kind of go, yeah, well, everything grows and grows larger as time goes by. That big nugget you found, that $20, $30 nugget becomes a $50, $70 nugget. Somewhere along the line you lose it, but it just keeps growing. Eventually, if you live long enough, you could retire on that nugget. Which guitar belongs to the Lost Dutchman? He didn't have a guitar. He played the flute. They were, good seeing you, Vern. They were Germans, stonemasons. They sing their work with a picture of a knife. They sign their work with a picture of a knife. I think Waltz liked Les Pauls. I don't think there were any Les Pauls. Mainly between the dates of 1236, 1563. I got like 3 or 4 conversations all at once rolling, and I'm trying to separate. I got a rock size of my hand from weighed 6.4 pounds, weird shiny colors. Thought it was silver. Ended up being a solid chunk of gallium. Yeah, that happens. But a big solid chunk of gallium like that is pretty cool. I mean, it looks nice. It's very, very pretty. And you can fetch a few dollars. I mean, that has resale value. A pretty rock always has resale value. Like Woody Wampler will say, you find a rock and you see it has about $10 worth of gold in it. Has a lot of iron. There's a bit of copper specks, which people will confuse with gold. And you're looking at the makeup of the mineralization, and it has a lot of great color pop. But don't do anything else. So just clean it up nice, set it down, and that rock with $10 worth of gold, somebody's going to want to crush up because they see the gold, and other people want to do that with the gold rock because it's just pretty and want it on a bookshelf. And guess what? You can probably sell the rock for $20 or $30 or more, depending on the person. I will save you the problems. I don't know what problems. I don't know. You kind of like... I'm trying to even pair what you're saying. They were German master stonemasons. Do you know what a Steinmetz is? We went from Steinmetz... See, I don't know if you're addressing 2 different conversations or not. That's one of the drawbacks of doing this. And I know a lot of people... I talked to someone that has done a couple things, and they don't do anything quite like this. And I said, I think it's neat because... most of the time, someone that's going to do television and different stuff like this is not going to take the chance to be wrong or put themselves out there where they're talking to the general public. I don't have a problem with it. They all, I don't know if it's their ego or what it is about it. But anyways, they said it's just too confusing, which it is. It's a bit confusing. Trying to deal with multiple conversations, and sometimes there's sidebar conversations. Sometimes you're having a hard time kind of like what someone's specifically addressing. I think we all generally get along. I got a sense of humor. I'm not too full of myself, I hope. Sometimes I'm full of myself, but not always. But in perspective of this, I think it's just still good. You're not going to get... Parker, or you're not going to get Marty and Rick Lagina. You're not going to even get, probably Gary Drake or someone to ever want to do something like this. But I think it's healthy because it lets everybody kind of interact with them. They don't know everything, and they can say they don't know everything, but they don't want to deal with the tough questions. There's tough questions. Sometimes you just don't know, and you just don't have the experience. And plus, you have the stones were signed by a master. Were signed? I don't know. Are you saying were signed by a master man? Are you talking the Peralta stones now? I don't know how that came into that. Okay. Because there's a German group out here, the whole Grail German group, and they're into a bunch of stuff in stonemasons and after stuff. You deal with it well. Well, it's because, I have a sense of humor. 2, I don't take my shit so serious. 3, I kind of enjoy it. I mean, it's kind of fun. It's sometimes I pick up a few things in this and I get curious and I go to look at them and I start working on them. And you have to remember, while there's a lot I'll talk about, there's some things which I earlier kind of talked about something and dodged the question because I'm researching and going in the field and checking on something that I'm very interested in. I'm not going to get very specific about that at the time. But it's interesting because we all kind of feed off that. And I know there's guys that are out there. And then privately we get to run into each other and talk about it a little bit. It's a good community. And the community you get, you're going to have a good community with it. And part of what the rendezvous was everybody to sit around and share and not think anybody was particularly right. But kind of learn from each other and learn from the veteran guys. I mean, Clay Wurst hasn't found the lost Dutchman mine. So it's great to listen to him because you also can figure out what doesn't he got right, right? So, and you can laugh about it because there is a point to that, Guessing Jacob had a shotgun, double barrel, maybe Stevens model. He had a pistol. It was called gosh, I can't remember. It's a German pistol. I've talked about it. Gasser, German Gasser pistol. And I think he had a rifle. I don't know about the shotgun. I don't know if he had a shotgun. I know he had a rifle, and I know he had the German Gasser pistol. which he bought off someone. I know that. I don't know about the shotgun. I know Reinhardt had a shotgun and Herman had one, and Herman had two in the end because he had Reinhardt's that Reinhardt shot himself with. So Herman had two of those. Okay, guessing Jacob. What? Waltz received an inheritance, and you know what it was. I don't know if he received an inheritance from a neighbor. It was a couple horses. I think it was some horses and some stuff. It's in the county record books. You can look it up. It's in Thomas Glover's book too. It talks specifically the will because he. God, I can't remember the guy's name now, but he left Waltz number of things. It was tack, saddles. I believe it was 2 horses, or at least a horse and a mule, or something like that. I'm trying to think of what else it was. There was some other things in there, but yes, he left most of his personal possessions and stuff in his estate to Waltz. It was another German gentleman about Waltz's age. God, I can't remember what his name was offhand. See, what that is one of the problems about all this is there's so much going on that then I'll have to go look at it later. And see, that's why Trevor needs to be more well-versed, read up, and then I can tell him to look for things. And then he could be sitting over here and looking it up in the books, pulling books down and looking at it and feeding me information. And my earpiece, that would be cool. See? Because I know Glover has it in his. It's a pretty well-known story, so the inheritance he got. And that's in the early 1880s. He gets that. God, the name's somewhere on the tip of my tongue, and I just can't come up with it. All right, anyways, the Spider Stones. The Spider Stones were signed the same ways. Found in text 19. Okay, Spider Stone. I like when you're the guest on the other podcast. You keep it real, along with your sense of humor. Always interesting. I love doing that stuff because it's fun interacting with the other guys. Jack Tucker. I liked Bobby Freedom. He was all right. There's a few other guys I've done. I got another one coming up next Thursday. God, I can't remember the guy's Chaz Stumbo. I'll be doing something with him. He's just kicking something off. I'm not sure exactly what we'll be talking about. It'll be the Dutchman, but what else we'll be doing. I'm more open to it now. There was a lot of people wanted me to do them, and I didn't. There was a Tucson Paranormal group and other groups. I'm more open to doing those stuff. So there you go. Well, thank you, Vern. I think Bowman kind of made that clear eventually. It just... I think the problem is when you're typing, other people are typing in, so it gets broken up. And I'm kind of looking backwards, trying to, as I'm talking and addressing other things, going backwards and looking at other things, and then trying to put it into, so the next time I come up and do that. Don't tell Vern he's correct. He'll get a really big head about it and be very proud. And right now he just jumped up and he just yelled, I heard it from Minnesota. I heard it all the way down here. So Vern got all excited. There we go. All right. Mexican was killed by a shotgun at Waltz. Yeah, well, Waltz had a shotgun there, and that's part of that story. So I guess he had one there. I just don't know what became of it. It's not in any inventory. It was probably ruined from the flood then. So, but I know when he was in the mountains, he had a rifle and he had a pistol. The newspaper story says the shotgun used in the killing was Waltz's. So Waltz seemed very confused, and remember, that's also a newspaper story where they say his eyesight was very bad, his hearing was not very good, and he seemed very confused about the whole thing, which is probably correct, because he was pretty old at that point, and if he had been in the house, he wouldn't have had a clue. That's kind of one of those stories that a lot of people always try to make Waltz look guilty of something when it was just 2 guys out there working in the field, probably for the stars, and something happened and he ran out to see what it was, and all that took place. Is there a way to get a hold of... Yes, I can get a hold of him. I still can't find any reference to the heart carving on the South Butte Mountain. All right, I'll try to keep it in mind. Hey, Dallas, message me some way on social media. Get the question to me so I'll remember, and I'll ask Jack. Did you talk to Jack about it before and he just wasn't clear about it? Because I'll ask him and Bowser. I'll try to get a hold of them. I do not like to give their numbers out. Well, definitely not here. Jack would never speak to me again. But I don't like to give their numbers out. But I do talk to them pretty regularly. I call up. Once I got a load of questions, I go through and I bug Jack. And he's always happy to talk to me. But we go through a bunch of lists of things. And then half the time he answers, call Bowser. And then I call Steve Bowser. And then me and Bowser go through them. And then that's pretty much the end. But that's the two guys up in the mountains and stuff. A lot of that kind of stuff. Jack's really good about where things are, so yeah, so I'll just remind me of that. I mean, if I write it down, I'll forget where I wrote it down, and then I'll look next week and say, South Butte Mountain Heart, Dallas, what the hell's that? So I won't have a clue. I'm pretty much at that point. So much stuff and so many notes. I'm making notes on everything. Hello, Mr. Rock. What are you doing? It's good to see you, my friend. All right. So there we are, and things slowed down. See, things go from steaming up. I don't have Facebook or anything. I never get the chance to speak with them. Great. Damn it, Dallas. Okay, hold on. Your contact information's in with the Dons, though, right, Dallas? I'm pretty sure. So I should be able to get it. I am now a board member for the Dons, Arizona. So, okay. So, heart carving, South Butte Mountain. Carving, South Butte Mountain. Okay. Yeah, Melanie or someone should have that information, so I'll just get that from the Dons here shortly and try to get that for you. So, don't thank me yet. You'll probably be asking me in October, and I'll be like, oh, crap. My point, Wayne, it's just because something is found in one date does not mean they're from that date. Well, I've always said that. I've always said that when you find something, especially if you find some coins, just because you found a coin from 1901 doesn't mean it's from 1901. It means it was minted in 1901. It could have been put there last week. Okay, so just someone put a date on something. There's so much stuff in the superstitions, the dates. There are things that I can actually tell you are in the superstitions that were not there when I was a kid, that have been carved there, and people believe the BS and say, no, it says 1848 on that rock. And I'm like, we camped there. No, that 1848 was not there when I was a kid. I would have been it would have stood out. So, yeah, a lot of stuff. Okay, so we're kind of in an agreement there, I think, I don't know. I get confused. I get easily confused and turned around. 47 minutes, time's flying. What happened to the Heartstone you and Frank found at the cave at Fish Creek? It's in my garage. It's on a shelf in my garage. So we found it. There's one from Whiskey Springs too that someone sent me that they dug up. They followed something and they dug it up. It was in Whiskey Springs in a cave. And they were in the back of the cave, and they metal detected, and they started to dig because they thought there was something, a box or something buried metallic there, and they ended up, it wasn't metallic, it was this heartstone, this sandstone heart, so it was really weird. I got that I don't remember who, I won't say the person's name, his name was Bill, but I won't say his last name, but I got all his stuff, his research and findings in the family sent me that heart. My agreement with the family is that I'll hold it in my collection. I did research and stuff, but probably one day I will take it back. I know where it was, and I'll just bury it back in that spot, because that was kind of what he wanted. He felt it had nothing to do with treasure or anything, possibly, but I think the family's thought is for it to go back into the mountains. The other one is actually, like I said, it's on the shelf. I inquired a lot of these over time. People find stuff. Some of them are, some like the one we found were worked. There's others that have been worked, but I find it more mysterious. I think once we found the one and a couple other things showed up, people started working stones that were similar to hearts, making them look more like hearts, and then sending them to me. So I have quite a pile of them. But the two most interesting are the one from Whiskey Springs and the Fish Creek one. And I have the Fish Creek one in the garage. Trevor kindly packed that out on his back. So, yes, we do have that. It would be interesting to look into the Masonic relationships regarding some of the stuff. I tried. Frank's a Mason, too, as well, Vern. And I always tell him from that side of things, I don't know what it is, the Master Mason, 133rd degree, I don't know. He calls himself a Knight Templar, too. Sorry if I don't take it totally serious, because I'm out there in the mountains with him, and I just don't feel Knight Templarish coming off of him. But anyhow, sorry, Frank. You are my Templar. But I always inquire and put that stuff on Frank. Frank will try to get me more interested and all that. I had an uncle, my father-in-law, as you well know, in the family and stuff. And I just, it doesn't pull a lot on me. And that was one of the things with the spiral staircase that I put, obviously, the Mormon temple, and then the Masons and a number of other groups that were in the area. And we kind of poo-pooed a lot of that stuff, but always kind of like, you never know and that's another thing, you never know a group of people associated in an organization might do separately. So, and just so you know, Vern, a lot of the early Dons were Masons. But they were far more active in the Dons of Arizona than the Masons, and there's a lot of Masonic things going on early on in there. But they were also very, very shrewd businessmen. So there is an interesting parallel there. It wasn't an offshoot of the Masons, but they put so much time into the Dons that it became like, I always felt, and there was a core group of 5 to 7 of them, and I believed that, I've always felt, I believe that group was broken off from something else. Kind of like when you talk the Illuminati and that whole beginnings of that whole situation. It was, a bunch of guy goes in the Masons suck. So he forms his own group. And then that turns into one thing, and then he gets out of hand in a very short period of time, and then it blows up into this huge thing. But it was a very short-term thing, and very, that whole thing. I think we covered that in Chasing Legends once, kind of that whole thing. But it is interesting, but that I can see that always happening. Is you say there's a group, Masonic lodge, or different people from different lodges, they get together and they have a common interest, and with that common interest comes, well, let's get together and let's go do this. And that's happened a number of times with the Superstitions. I got to that. Hey Wayne, do you know the location of a cinnabar mine on Tortilla? No. I know where there's supposed to be one down off of Peralta. I wouldn't mess with either one. And I know where there's one up along Patchy Trail, not out by Tortilla, but more in town, and I wouldn't mess with that either. One person did, and they got very sick. They're always coming up with new claims regarding travel in the ancient world. Well, they always will. Less than 30 minutes, and just the Cubs start the sweep of the Cards. Baseball hasn't caught me. It's Stanley Cup season, Dallas. I'm having trouble right now because, man, the Cup games have been so good. It was a double overtime game last night, and they are just been such good games, twisted and turned. Oh, man, I'm just hockeyed up right now. So I'm kind of watching kind of a little baseball on the side, but, yeah, pretty much right now. And the shame is I'm doing this, but man, I pretty much just want to watch hockey right now. So tonight's the Panthers and the Rangers, and I'm just all total bent on the Cup right now. Okay, my grandfather was a Dutch-German bricklayer. There you go, a master mason, which is where they all started. And most masons now can't lay up straight wall or cement anyways. They couldn't build a frickin' house. 357-369. Interesting. 369. Oh, I did. Taz jumped right in there right afterwards. Oh, I'm sorry, dude. Tesla code. See, the insane think alike. Yeah, it gets pretty weird quickly. Have you heard from Delil or Magnuson? We hear from Delil. I stay in touch with Delil. Not as much as I should sometimes, but he's very busy too. But he's doing well. Magnuson, we hear nothing from. If he catches any of this stuff or even has an interest in it, I don't think any. I maybe once a year, Magnuson will say, "Oh shit, guys, I'm sorry, I haven't stayed in touch," and then he won't hear from him for a year again. So, Magnuson, we do not hear. Nobody hears from. I talked to Woody yesterday, day before yesterday, and I talked to Frank yesterday, and I always talk to DeLeo. I catch up with as soon as I realize it's been more than a month or so, I'll call DeLeo and just catch up. Me and him just sit there and shoot the shit on that phone. No, he's doing pretty well, and I'm happy for him. So there you go. Enjoyed spending the time with you, Wayne. Yeah, thank you, Skycloud. Gil Gold Prospecting. Bug it out. Horse feed time. There you go. He's going to feed the horses. Let's go. All right. Gets pretty weird. Everything gets pretty. Life gets pretty weird pretty quickly. I'm personally curious about all the new things I see about ancient Egyptians and their technology. Are the old military trails still? I don't think they ever were really known. I think if you were a guide or you were in the military or a scout or something, you found the way that worked best for you and you followed your path. And if you worked with someone else, you worked and followed those trails too. But there was more than one. So whatever Waltz thought of as the military trail is something he probably saw that he thought, okay, that might have been one of the trails they use. I think there was various, and there are different ways to cut through mountains. It depends where you're going and where you want to come out. So I know one of the difficulties of going in around Tortilla and down through Tortilla, and then if you intersect into Fish Creek Canyon, from there through Lost Dutch Canyon is probably an easier walk. It would be brutal to come up from Fish Creek from the salt and then try to make it all the way through, because that would be a rough one. But if you get to Lost Dutch Canyon, you can feed right down into Hewitt in that area, so that would actually work out pretty good. But I've always been I know everybody tries to pinpoint the military trail. I don't think there was a military trail. I think it's just like anything. Everyone has their own routes. If Waltz had bad eyes, but his eyesight, we're talking his eyesight when he was like 80 years old and after he'd been sick in the 1880s, and all that. It was later. He probably, the Dutchman period, 10, 12 years earlier, he probably was in pretty good shape. And it depends on what his vision was like. Could he see far? Could he see near? What could he see? Old Indian Trail, okay, or Stagecoach. Multiple. I don't think there's any stagecoach trails. There's the freight road down on the south end, but I don't think there was a stagecoach trail through the Superstitions. Multiple military. Yeah, it would have to be multiple military. And like I said, you could have your route you want to take through, and I could take mine. Good night. Someone else is leaving us. We've lost everybody. We talk too much treasure hunting and weren't entertaining enough. But have a good night. That's 2 people we've lost. They've just bailed on us. Are we talking too long? No? Okay. So we're good to go. Everybody have a good night. That's leaving. Calvary side. I can even tell what Calvary side. Okay. Any word if the trail is open? Apache Trail is not open. I've been working on it. It's not done. They will open it for high clearance and 4-wheel drive. I'm sure it'll be announced, and there'll be a lot. Hopefully everybody chills out. It doesn't go through there and tear it back up and it rains this fall and we end up with a problem. And then the bigger plan is to make a lot of wholesale changes and try to pave it and do something that's going to permanently allow it to be open, which I don't know. You can't say anything's going to be permanent in there. So there you go. Military, we were Dutchman Trail or Dick Holmes bullshit. Yeah. That's a chapter for a book I would write. Dick Holmes bullshit. I'm sorry, Dick Holmes. I actually worked with a great nephew of Captain Kyo who rode Comanche at the Battle of the Bighorn. There you go. Who rode Comanche. Rode Comanche. Okay, I don't know if I'm missing something there. I actually worked with a great nephew of Captain Kiel, who rode Comanche in the battle. Okay, greasy grass. So you're talking about greasy grass. So he was with the Comanche with the Custer side of things. Mr. Holmes is spinning in his grave. I don't know. He might have been cremated, spinning in his urn. So that would be cool. Trevor, we need that optic. But that gift put on. I think a lot of those guys would just roll their eyes at a lot of this because they'd be like, how the hell did that all come out? I don't know if Comanche's a horse or not. Vern just kind of disappeared on us. I don't know if that came out wrong or he rode Comanche. Because there was Crow. It also met the famous author Wes Colbert. Almost every trail was used by the military at one time. Well, and it doesn't have to be a trail. I think some of the trails we look at were old game trails, Indian trails, different trails, freighter trails, because guys that run freight, prospectors. So they just found and just followed different ways. Are you breathing so loud that they can hear you? Are you that excited? You know dinner time's coming, and I'm almost ready to wrap up, and that's what it is. It's the 5 o'clock hour. Yeah, you don't get a treat for me finishing. You know that. Okay. Nobody can see you there, by the way. See, you need a little box to stand up. Come here, Jackson. Get up here. See, some people can see that you're there. Yes. Yeah, you're like a puppet. Yeah, good boy. Good boy. Okay. Anyways, Jacob is rolling. Oh, Jacob is rolling. I think, if you took a group of those people and stuff, Reinhardt Petrash, Herman Petrash, they'd probably be just incredulous and just stunned at how this all snowballed. Waltz would be totally confused. I think you'd find a lot of those people would be just like, how the hell did that end up so big? It would blow their minds. Love the old stories. And the old stories are great, but yeah, some of that stuff, it would be just, they probably wouldn't even know what you're talking about. I almost wonder with some of the guys from the 1890s and early turn of the century, some of the people that the stories were even based on, I wonder if you told them the story, if they would even recognize some of the story that they're in sometimes. Going to Missouri next week. There you go. Going to Metal Tech at an old Jesse James spot. There you go. Good night, buddy. Go eat. Well, I got a few more minutes. We're going to wrap up here, but now we had a good one. There's a lot. I'm going to probably have to go back through the comments and catch some of it. I don't know what Vern wrote Comanche. I don't know if Comanche was a horse. See, because I don't know. Rode Comanche at the bottom. So I rode a horse Comanche that actually worked with a great nephew of Comanche. Okay, so I don't know. I'll sort it out. So the winning side refers to it as greasy grass, by the way, Vern. The losing side calls it bighorn. Is there any more left to the bark? Yeah, there's a bit. Trevor's been really slacking on that, and now we're kind of holed up. In the next week or so, I might sit down, and I haven't decided what I want to do visually, but we might put up something where, like every Wednesday, we do a section, audio section of the bark notes. I read them, and then we'll have stuff that runs like a slideshow or something with it, so we can put it on YouTube, so you can just listen to it. And so we might do that. He can still upload them to the website, but because he's running behind on so many things and so many projects he has, he just finished teaching for the school year, but he's also working on his master's through the summer, and he's preparing to leave Sunday for Spain and France. So because of all those things that he's doing, it limits his amount of time. So we've been trying to take care of stuff. Certain things we're getting taken care of, and other things are getting kind of like put on a list of, we got to get to these things, which includes sunsets, by the way. So we are getting to things, but yeah, everything kind of got piled up. So it's getting itself. Is there any way for this chat to be text to be saved on the? There is a thing where you can go into YouTube, and you have to go in and look for the live chat. There is a thing on YouTube where you can see the live chat. You have the comment section, and then you can open up a section that shows live chat. So you can review them. Well, Coburn's James Coburn. I was with James Coburn's. Well, I filmed, but not with him. James Coburn's stunt double. California. I was sitting there, and I know James Coburn. Know what he looks like and all. And there's this guy sitting across from me in California. And we were up at this ranch, and we were doing some filming. And I'm looking at this guy, and I'm going like, man, that guy looks just like James Coburn. But I know it's not him. But, man, he looks just identical to James Coburn. And his hands were even a little messed up. And it was really weird. We were just looking at each other. And then he said, what? And I said, did anybody ever tell you? And he starts laughing. And then he explained he was a stunt man. And one of the things he did was he did James Coburn's stunts and stuff. I can't remember what his name. I have a picture with him somewhere. Stay safe, stay free. Thank you, Taz. Word is Dick Holmes' ears were ringing, but he came back to life and would like a word with a few of you. No, he wouldn't. He wouldn't want a word with anybody. I have a feeling a few of those guys would just be like, ooh, I don't want to talk about this. They said, I said what? I don't usually tune in, but tonight was cool. Where it's always cool. I'm waiting for a Timberwolves win against the Mavericks tonight. Oh, is that tonight? Oh, you may not be getting that. I kind of am on the Mavericks. If there's a night they got to win, this has got to be it. Because if the Mavericks pull this one off, I have a feeling they're going to roll through them. It's a good young team, Vern. It's a good young team. But, you can have a good young player, and they can say he's the next Michael Jordan. But Michael Jordan wouldn't have lost that game, and he would have done everything possible, and he wouldn't have done that. So it's going to be a tough series. That's going to be a good series. I think that's going to be bad. I'm feeling pretty Celtics and Mavericks for. I'm sorry, just is. I'm also, though, I know this is rough for you, Vern, but I feel very good about possibly the Stars and Panthers. So if you can kind of just forget the Dallas part and just put the North in the front of it, maybe you can feel kind of okay with the Stars being in there. I don't know. I know you really don't, but hey, it is what it is. But no, the Stars have been playing really good too, having a good game. I was Edmonton's playing well too. The hockey series is the best right now. I don't care about the NBA. I'll catch up that. I'll catch parts of it. And here's the big shame. The last 5 minutes of an NBA game will take freaking 30, 40 minutes. The last 5 minutes of a hockey game takes about 5.5 minutes. That's the big difference. And last night was awesome. I mean, I literally was stuck to that game, and it went to the second overtime, and I saw that it was getting ready to start, and I told Charlene, I said, hey, I got to run in the other room. And I ran out of the room, came back in, and I was like, why are they celebrating? And it was, 32 seconds into the second overtime they scored, so I had to rewind it. They just, Edmonton got that goal in there, so that was really cool. And tonight, I believe, like I said, it's the Rangers. It's the Rangers and the Panthers. So the Panthers look pretty dominant. But, hey, Rangers are one of the original 6, so hopefully they can make it a series. There you go. Heard a dog. Somebody is ready. The dogs are all ready. Jax is down here. He's pacing from side to side. I only follow professional disc golf. Well, that's good. It's a good sport. It's a healthy sport. It's one you can do as you get older. No running. Okay, there you go. I'm just hoping the Bears actually have a good quarterback for change, but we'll see. I'm hoping this guy turns it around. I like the draft pick. I like what they did at the end of the year. I'm not happy they kept the coach. That's my big problem. But you know what? They should be better this year. Walt Colburn was raised on the Circle J in the mountains, Butch Sundance and Sundance. Okay, there we go. All right, so we're going to get rolling. It was good to see you, Vern. It was good to see everybody. We got a few people that took off, said goodnight. They probably had things to do, food to eat, which is what I'm going to do. I'm going to eat some dinner. Have a good night, Wayne, and all it's baseball time. It is baseball time, but like I said, Dallas, man, I'm all baseball, man. I love baseball. I coach baseball. I just love baseball to death. But Stanley Cup season, man, that's just, once I get kind of caught on it a little, it's hard for me to let go because it's so good. And this, right now, the conference finals is so good. And, I mean, let's put it this way. It's just got me just sitting there just happy as a clam, which is good. So there we go. But anyways, go Cubbies, go. I wish it was the Blackhawks, but the Blackhawks, hopefully the Bears have a better season. I could give a crap about the Bulls. Peace. Keep the stories coming. I will. Enjoy it. I'll send a gang signal too. And Mellow tonight, thank you. Yeah, I didn't yell or make fun of the museum at all. Thank you for hanging out with us. Gladly caught alive. Cool. Larry. Hi, Wayne. Hey, Larry, we're all leaving. We're waving goodbye to you as we go, okay? We just finished up. It's time to go eat dinner. Take care, Vern. Good to see you in there and stuff. Yeah, I saw you tonight. Kathy sometimes jumps in and is there in the background and stuff. Kind of weird. Sometimes the people that kind of drift in and out, so that's always good. But we're gonna get out of here so I can grab myself some dinner and catch myself some hockey, because I think the hockey comes on at 5:30 if I'm correct. So, and I might have to run suddenly because I might be going, oh crap, it's hockey time. And it comes on it came on. So Panthers and Rangers just started. Oh no, it hasn't started. Okay, so I'm on the run because I can smell bread too. I can smell fresh bread is cooked. So I'm gonna go get me some dinner and watch me some hockey. Everybody have a great rest of the week. Catch Chasing Legends on Mondays. We'll see you next Friday on live. Everybody have a great one. And I'm gonna say adios amigos. We will catch you again. All right. C'est la vie and whatever else goes on. All right.